All right, let's add to this. So income, we were saying before, our income, we have two sources of income. We have a job that's paying us some money, and we have an Etsy store. I want to add more detail to this. When you're building a spreadsheet, often you're going to need to change not just the numbers, but the structure. In order to accommodate new information or looking at things a different way. I'm going to go back and do that again slowly. In this case, we want to add some columns in between. So I'm going to go to the column, my starting point, and I'm going to decide whether I want to add a column of, a row. I want to add a row. I want to add 2 rows so I can add in information for my job and for my Etsy store. Pick your starting point. I'm going to pick this row and decide whether I want to add a row above it or below it. When I've decided on the row number, when I'm going to move my mouse over to the row number and right click. You'll get a menu. Again, there's more than one way to do this. I'm just showing you one easy way right now. When you right click, you're going to get another menu of choices. And I see a choice that I like here. Insert 1 row below. Click that. And now, instead of the 1 blank row, I've got 2 blank rows. Actually, I want to add 1 more row. I'm going to do it with the trackpad this time. I'm going to move the mouse cursor over row 3. I'm going to right click, and that's going to give me a menu of choices. And now I'm going to say I want to enter 1 more row below. Now I've got 2 new rows that I've added. Let's add some text, some labels in here for our income sources. I'm going to click in A2 because that's where I'm going to enter information next. I am going to hit the space bar a couple of times because I just like the way that it looks. Little indentation. Of course, again, other ways to do it, but we're going to keep it simple. 2 spaces, and I'm going to type job. When I'm done typing, we close the cell by hitting enter. Let's add Etsy. I'm going to hit the space bar 2 times, type Etsy. Hit enter. Now I've got 2 new spaces for income. Let's go put some numbers in there. So I'm going to go over to job and enter, let's see, we'll go back to the 4,000. And for the Etsy store, let's say this month we had 500. We'll work with some even numbers right now so you can see what it looks like. The total is at the top. I don't want the total at the top here. I want the total down here. So I'm going to put a label here. I'm going to hit the space bar 3 times now. Type in TOTAL. Hit enter to close the cell. Notice every time you hit enter, it moves you down to the next cell. And you can tell it's moving you down because the cell that's active, the cell that you're working in, has a blue border. Let's go over here to total. And actually first, I'm going to get rid of this because I don't want the total to be above the numbers. I want it to be below. So I'm going to hit delete. Look at what happened here with leftover. Oh no, our formula's messed up because we deleted that. That's okay. Everything can be adjusted. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to click in the cell next to total, and I'm going to put a formula here that adds this and this. So we'll get our total income. In fact, you know what? I'm going to even edit this to say total income. So I'm going to double click, and now I have the blinking line. That means I can type. Let me type another word, total income. So I know exactly what is in the cell next to it. Labels are important. So you know what the numbers mean exactly. Because total could just mean anything. Could have been the total left over, could be total expense. But let's make our labels as clear. Let's go ahead and put a formula in the cell, in the place next to total. We're going to do like we did before. We're going to want to click in the cell where we want the result, where we want the number to appear. And we start the formula with an equal sign. So we're going to tap the equal key on the keyboard. Notice there's a bunch of stuff that has now been filled in the cell. The word sum and cell addresses. This is because Google Sheets is looking at all the numbers around and making an assumption, trying to help you, trying to guess what you're going to do. Sometimes this is helpful, sometimes it is not. This is not what we want to do right now. We will talk about sum, but first I want us to put in a simple formula like we did before. So we're going to ignore what Sheets has written in here, and we're going to continue on as if it's not even there. What did we do last time? We started our formula with the equal sign, and then we clicked on the number we want to add. One of the numbers, the first number. So we're going to click on that number. We're clicking on the cell that holds that number. And you see now our formula, the cell address has now populated our formula automatically. We have the number, the first number we want to add. What do we do next? We're going to put in an operator. We're putting in the A+ sign. So on the keyboard, we're going to hold down the shift and tap the key with the plus sign. Same key that has the equal sign. We have a plus. Now let's click on the next number that we want to add in this formula. We're going to click on that cell that has the next number we want to add. That cell address has now been entered into our formula. And again, Google Sheets trying to be helpful is even showing you right here a quick calculation of what it's going to be, what these two are going to add up to. This little hint box is just kind of a check to help you make sure you're on the right track. You can ignore it or not. This formula is complete. We're only adding two numbers, so when we're done entering everything in our formula, we go to the enter button and close the cell, complete the formula. And you see that formula in our total cell has now been calculated. Job 4,000, Etsy 500, so the total is 4,500. Continuing on, our amount in leftover is still not right. Why not? If we click in that cell, we can look in the formula bar and see that formula is pointing to a cell that doesn't have information in it. This formula says B1, which is this cell, minus B5, which is this cell. B1 doesn't have anything in it. In fact, we don't even want to use B1. We want to use this cell. This cell is B4. Look, if I click on it, I can check over here in the name box. We want to use cell B4 in our formula. So let's go back to this cell next to leftover. Let's fix this. My suggestion is when you're starting out and you need to fix something or something is wrong, delete it and start over. You're not being graded. There's no shame in it. It just makes it clear. So I've clicked on this cell that says leftover, and I'm going to hit the delete key on the keyboard. Done. Gone. Clean slate. Let's start over. We're going to put a formula in here that is what? What would we do on paper? We would write whatever the number is for our total income minus total expenses. So here we're going to tap the equal, start our formula with the equal. we are going to click on the first number that we need in this formula. So that's our total income. We are going to subtract, so we need the dash, the minus sign, and then we're going to click on the next number that's in this formula, what we're taking away, that's the expense. So we'll just click on that number, and those cell addresses are just pop right into the formula. We're done. We're only doing two numbers, one thing minus another. So since we're done, hit enter. Now we have a proper calculation. The number in the cell next to leftover is correct because it is subtracting the expenses from the total income.